A încălcat toate regulile parfumeriei și este cunoscut în întreaga lume ca fiind cel mai rebel parfumier. Vorbim, bineînțeles, despre Geza Schoen, fondatorul Escentric Molecule, care ne-a învățat că parfumurile nu trebuie să respecte reguli, ci să le impună. Abia aștept să-l cunoaștem împreună. Bianca și Stânziana deja se familiarizează cu esențele.
The idea to come up with Escentric molecules goes back to 1990. First time when I smelled Isui Super as an ingredient. I noticed that because of that ingredient I would like actually lots of fragrances. So all the fragrances which I really thought were cool, up to when I knew that they had lots of Isui Super in it, I couldn't tell. But once I knew, there's big Isui Super in it, that's what I think what made me like them. So that was a revelation in the sense that I didn't actually like these overall fragrances, but I liked them more for actually they contain a lot of Isui Super. So I then took the ingredient, gave it to a friend of mine. We went to this bar, and it took only 10 minutes for this woman to appear right in front of us to say, "Who smells so great here?" And that was in 1990, so a long time ago. So molecule worked even then. It would have worked in any time. I suggested the idea of Isui Super actually for the first time to Diesel when I was working on the Diesel briefing on the first Diesel fragrance in 1994, and even the sales guy for Diesel was the coolest company in the world by then because they had the weirdest advertising campaign and was really far out what they did, and even he said he thinks that's a bit too far-fetched for Diesel. So he even said, like, I don't think they would like that. That's even too crazy for Diesel. So I was a bit pissed off because I thought that's a really cool idea. And in hindsight, of course, I'm very lucky that they didn't take it because it would have worked for them as well as for any other brand. So from 94, it took another 11 years to just launch it. So we didn't launch it till autumn 2005. And then we just did it. And I think this just doing it yourself solved the problem. So we had Molecular 1 out, we had Escentric 1 out, and that was the first pair, and I think it also was right to launch Isui Super as the first molecule and not the second or the third one.
Were you afraid that the others will not accept your different perfume?
You see, that is one thing I've never really cared about, just because perfumery is an open book. So whether you create a fragrance out of 1,000 ingredients or 50 or 10 or 1, I think it's down to the creator. If you, let's say, if you would be a musician and you find this one note which sounds so sublime and everybody loves it, maybe that could be a hit. But of course in music everything has been tried out, and so has everything been tried out in cooking, in the kitchen, until Ferran Adria came along and made the molecular kitchen. So sometimes there's room for a crass development or for a really crass for a new thing, which I think we found. And no, to be honest with you, I don't care what people think about it. But what I always will say is, people ask me like, "Oh yeah, how did you create Molecular 1?" Well, I didn't create it. There's no creation process behind it because it's an ingredient. We take it and fill it in a bottle.
How did you think about that ingredient?
How did I think about doing this? I didn't care. Look, because I knew this works. If somebody wears this, you will have somebody coming after you thinking, "You smell great. What is it?" So the effect, I knew that would happen. It draws you in. You want more. It's magic. And in hindsight, I find it hilarious that I waited for so long, for another 11 years after I proposed that to Diesel, that I just kept it for another 11 years before then to do it myself. That's crazy, because it would have worked at all times. But no, look, one of the main things of what we do is we certainly do not care about what the others do. We do our own stuff. That's very important. I think also if you want to be creative and do something new, you don't look left or right. You really do your own stuff.
How else would you describe it?
Well, look, all these things. I never said I'm the rebel. I never said I create the anti-fragrance. This is always what journalists make of what I tell them. So it's not an anti-fragrance because yes, it's not a fragrance in the sense that it's not concocted with lots of other ingredients. Obviously, it's just one. This is also why I say I didn't create it. I just took it, filled it in a bottle, and Molecule 1 is probably the simplest, the most simple form of wearing something which smells there is. There's nothing more simple. If you want to go more simple than this, you smell of nothing. So it's the first step into something which smells. And that's why the concept, I think, is very logical. Molecule 1 was meant for the creatives and the artists and the freaks and the musicians, because none of my friends at the time was wearing perfume. They all said, I don't like it, it's too strong, too floral, too sweet, too fruity, too much. So, and I thought that's a real shame, because, you know, I have these great friends and I would want them to smell of something, but they wouldn't. And that's also where I came in and thought, okay, what if I give them something really simple, which smells great? And this is how the whole idea originally evolved. Everyone can wear this, regardless of sex, skin, age, country, race. We have people all over the world wearing this, and they all come back with the same thing. They say, I've met my husband through this, or I've met lots of people, or I met my new girlfriend, or I can't, you know, I have every day 3 people chasing me on the street. So it's I think the effect works everywhere, for everyone. So this is why I can't give you the typical client of our firm. We have young people wearing it to people who are 80 and they swear on our perfume. So it's everyone, I think.
So would you call it science of seduction?
You know what? As soon as whatever it is smells so good that you seduce people just by wearing something, you're walking on the street and you have somebody running after you, and they dare to say, excuse me, can I ask you, what are you wearing of? I mean, I have lots of friends in London. My friend Gerda, she had three free cab rides because the cab driver said, if you tell me what you're wearing, you're driving for free. That's unheard of, you know, so like people are dying to know what is it, what smells so good, and it's just one molecule. So seductive or not, if it smells good, it is seductive. If it doesn't smell good, it might be the most expensive perfume in the world. You can't seduce someone with that. So seduction can be actually very simple. What's next? Good question. We're doing more stuff. We're doing a new brand together with my friends Mark Buxton and Bertrand Duchefour, also 2 perfumers who you might have heard of. We're doing a new brand together, which is about to come out in, I think, February, most likely. And probably next year, Molecule 04 and Escentric 04. That's enough next. Until we've done that, I'm busy, and so. But you know, I'm also working for other brands. So if you're a fashion designer or like a brand, you could come to me. You could ask me, hey, would you like to do a fragrance for us? So I'm doing this as well. So I'm working for several fashion designers right now, creating them their next fragrance. And but I'm also doing industrial stuff. So regular lifestyle brands or shampoos. I've just started working for a brand in Germany. They do very expensive shampoos, so I'm trying to persuade them that if they do expensive shampoos, they should also use expensive perfumes, for Christ's sake, you know. So I'm doing lots of different things next to each other, and that keeps me busy. Look, if some niche brands become more and more commercial, I think that's just a sign of success. Because if even niche brands who don't have any marketing budget or like advertising campaign or TV or, you know, giving out samples, if they don't have that, but yet still become a success, that means that the one thing which is important manages itself to be traded into, well, somebody smells of something and they smell great and they get asked. So it's actually the fragrance itself which makes that success. Of course, with some niche brands you also have certain images they have created which people might find cool, so this is already enough for them to decide, I'm going to buy a fragrance of this brand because I find it cool. As where I would always say, don't look at all these brand stuff. Try and find out of all these hundreds of perfumes the one you really like and the one where you think really fits to you. Don't look at the names, that's not important. Same with everything. I mean, I'm not a big fan of images, but this world unfortunately is pretty much image driven, and therefore people almost have become blind for their own perception and their own taste and also their own self-esteem. You know, if you look great in this red dress, and maybe red is not the color of the season, but you like the dress, that should be enough to wear it. You know, not like, is it in the fashion now or not? I think that's the way I would see it. Oh, you mean when you look at all these perfumes in the market? Well, I think what I always like is when you actually smell a fragrance on the street and you notice you like it. So actually by smelling fragrances on other people, I think that's a good entrance for anyone to realize, oh, actually, could I like that? Then of course you have to make the test yourself. In several cases, then it doesn't smell as good on you, then you have liked it on someone else. But I think overall, it's very hard to say how you can choose a fragrance or pick a fragrance, or, I mean, smell loads. If you have 50, smelled 50, out of these 50 you will like 2 or 3. Okay, bring it down to 2 or 3. Then spray these 2 or 3 fragrances on a friend, watch it on a friend, whether you actually like that or not. Then finally have one here on yourself. And check it and also show it to people, because some fragrances fit to your personality and some don't. So it's actually a long process to find the right product. Of course, if you buy a fragrance from us, you're always right. You know, nothing can go wrong. But no, it should take you a while to pick the right fragrance. Because what I see is only what I see, but what's in here has much more to offer than what I see. So yes, of course, I mean, look, of course, if I sort of like, you know, I mean, if I'm interested in a woman, in the beginning, of course, it'll always be the looks, but I only like certain looks, so this is like my entrance. And then if she has an interesting personality, that is what wins me over to her, not the looks. Definitely. This is also why we did Beautiful Mind series, because, you know, when Paris Hilton came out with her fragrance, I thought, this is enough of the stupidity, so we need something which is of value and of substance, and Paris Hilton is the worst role model I can possibly imagine. So I was trying to steer against the trend that, you know, somebody could just become a VIP. She's an idiot and she's done stupid things, and as I said, she's a terrible role model for any young, growing, sort of like for any teenager. But this is why we did Beautiful Mind, to offer or to say, look, there is actually little things which could help you and actually make you more attractive. Like in the first series, you know, this mind, this brain training we had in there. These are really sweet things which are, certainly much more interesting and attractive than wearing a Paris Hilton fragrance. There's nothing in it. You know, she doesn't smell the fragrances themselves, she doesn't do them. It's like a fragrance off the shelf which gets tested. If it tests the best, they fill it in the bottle. But this doesn't make it a good fragrance. Plus, the one who's behind could be terrible. So you want to pick the right people to come back together and to form a good product. I think that's important. Who inspires me? You know what? The best inspiring moment is probably travel. I had lots of travels to the Far East. Each country I've been to was a flash again in terms of different flowers, different plants, different temperature, humidity. People look different, they wear different things, the food is different, what they drink is different. The whole surrounding, it's an overall sensual experience which is so different to the way I live in Germany, you will live in Romania, and somebody lives in Canada. So this is very inspiring. But an inspiration might come from the simple source of like a natural raw material or like a chemical or something I sort of smell even on the street. And I think, I wrote right down what I like about it. So it's numerous. Sometimes it's just a color or a word or a sentence which I can translate. And another perfumer would make it completely different. But inspiration can be very varied, I'd say. My motto. Cynicism helps.
How did you choose this?
I didn't choose it. That was brought to me automatically just by seeing how stupid the world is, and that I would be only able to conquer this by being funny or cynical, because otherwise I couldn't hack it. Things on the planet are so terrible that I can only survive by having a quite black view on things sometimes.
Tell me more about those 3 molecules.
The 3 molecules we do. Isoe Super is classified as a cedarwood ingredient in perfumery, so it's very woody, yet it has this incredible velvety, soft creaminess. So if somebody's wearing that, it's like you wanna sort of have a bite of them. Molecular 2, Amboxan, is I think similarly sexy to Molecular 1. It's in the same area. I would describe both of them as woody. Yet Amboxan obviously is an amber ingredient from the sperm whale, very warm, very mineral, very woody, so it's fresher than Molecular 1. Molecular 3, vetiver acetate, is the most intellectual smell we do, because you don't find a lot of people who really love it, but those who love it go crazy for it. So I felt, because the first 2 were woody ones, I thought, okay, we have to carry on. We just can't offer now like a floral or a sweet or like something fruity. That would look really stupid. So this is why whenever we do this, we will be in the woody, ambery area.
Which one of those 3 you prefer?
If I would be wearing one, which I don't, I would change between all 3, because all 3 have something in it, but for different moments. I think vetiver acetate is very, very evening and very warm weather. Then it smells great. Isoe Super can be worn all over the year, whenever. It sticks on your neck till you come home at night. Amboxan is also very good for hot weather. It's very mineral and very fresh. So it's probably the freshest of the 3 we do. I think there's in every single one there's something you have to explore and try out and smell them, maybe first on like paper and see which one you like. Also smell them again next day, after 2 days, after 3 days on the same blotter, and that gives you an impression of how you could be smelling of.